Welcome everyone. In this tutorial we are going to learn the motion graphics, how you can make shapes, how you can import images, and how you can move things. So without further ado, let's get started. So I'm gonna make my first composition. If you want to change the resolution, then you can change the resolution from here. If you want to make a 720p video, then you can make it from here. But I want to make 1080p video, and make sure that this is locked. And I made you understand what happens if we uncheck this in the episode 1 of this tutorial. So I'm gonna make it motion graphics, because we are going to be making motion graphics. Okay, so we have made our composition, which is motion graphics. Now what we are going to do is make shapes. So this is a rectangle tool, so this is one kind of shape that we can click on, and if we go and click and drag, then there you go, we made a shape. So now that we have made our shape, it's time to change the properties of shape. So as you can see, there is fill color. So it means that inside the rectangle, some of the color will be filled. Okay, so we can click on it and we can change it as per our wish. So I'm gonna fill red color, green color, and make sure that you check preview. Not only on this option, but whatever the options that you change, you are going to click preview so that you can see what is happening on real time. So click OK, and there we go. Boom, we changed our rectangle color. So now that what we are going to do is change this stroke color. So what is a stroke? A stroke is anything that is a border of something. So for this rectangle, a stroke is the border of a rectangle, of this rectangle. So we can click on it and we can change the border color. So let me make our border color like a blue or green, whatever the color that is here. So I'm just gonna click OK. Now we cannot see our color because the stroke is set to 0. The size of the stroke is set to 0. So we are going to increase it. So in order to increase it, there are two ways. Either we click on it and manually put a number like 12, like 30, or we can just see the arrow pointed towards left and right, and then we can just drag it by holding left click. Alright, so what should we do in order to resize it? Okay, let me resize it again. So in order to resize it, what we can do is we can click the left click, and once the color of the pointer becomes black, and then we can drag it just like this. So it depends on from which point you want to resize your rectangle. Alright, from this point you can of course resize it. From this point you can decrease the width of the rectangle. From this point you can just decrease the depth of the rectangle or height of the rectangle, whatever. Okay, so if we want to move our rectangle, we can just click left click and drag it. Just hold the left click and drag it, as simple as that. So now what are we going to do next? We're going to do a couple of things here. Okay, we're going to move our rectangle. Okay, so first of all we have to understand about time. So how do we manipulate all these shapes in time? So this is the time. When I just move the time, nothing happens. Why? It is because there is something called keyframes, which will move our things in this space. Alright, so if we take a look at this one, in this panel we have shape 1. So shape 1 has the rectangle. So if we want to make other rectangles like this, we can just click on rectangle tool, and then we can start dragging other rectangles. So here we go, we made another rectangle on the same shape layer, or on the same shape group. Alright, so that's how we make shapes under the shape layer. Alright, so I just pressed Ctrl Z in order to remove it. And what I can do now, so if you want to make another group of shapes, then you can just click on it. Make sure that this is not highlighted as like this. You can just click on the empty area, and then we can drag another rectangle. So this is shape layer 2. So if we make another rectangle or any other tool, we can also make another kind of shape. So if we want to make another kind of shape, what we can do is press the letter Q on the keyboard. So as you can see, it is a rounded version of rectangle. So if we drag it out, if we drag it like this, then as we can see, the rectangle 2 is made on the shape layer 2 because we have selected shape layer 2. Alright, we have made pretty awesome shapes, and we have selected rectangle 2, so we can just change its stroke color or whatever. Alright, maybe I want to make it orange. Alright, so there we go. We made beautiful shapes. So I'm gonna cancel all the shapes, and then we are ready to move towards motion graphics. So the real meaning of motion graphics is just to make whatever the things we want to move in motion. So I want to make this rectangle because all I have in this space is rectangle. So whatever the things that I have in the space, I want to move it. So in order to do that, we call it motion graphics. So let's get started and ready to learn what is motion graphics and how to do it. Okay? So now we know how to change the basic properties of our rectangle or any shapes that we create. Now it's time to learn how to move it. Now, in order to move it, we should select the rectangle, of course, by pressing V. As you can see, blue color on this selection tool, and then we can drag it. Alright, so we move further in time, and we just move it, and in order to see what's happened, we just go back. Alright, so we just move it. Nothing happens. Why? We indeed moved over the time, but we can see no movement over this rectangle. So why? Why does this happen? Because there is something called keyframe in order to work with motion graphics. So what is keyframe? Keyframe is anything that records our movement, our specific movement, while we just move over time. Okay, so let's get started learning our keyframes. So in order to establish a keyframe, or in order to create a keyframe, in order to activate our keyframe, what we have to do is go to this rectangle, and we can click on this one, this arrow, and the arrow is pointed downwards, and it is showing some of the options. So for now we are going to go to transform, okay, because that's what we are going to do. So click on this, and we are going to put keyframe on position. Okay, you can see that it changed to blue, unlike any other properties. So we are going to move in time. So now what we are going to do is change the position of this rectangle from here to here. You already know how to move a rectangle, isn't it? So we just do that. So when we go back in time, in the beginning of the time, and when we press space, I mean the space key on our keyboard, then it just moves. Okay, it takes 2 seconds and 11 frames to move, to reach this destination. Okay, so position means x-axis and y-axis. So x-axis means this point here, you know, this is x, this is the center of x, this is the center of axis. And when we move x-axis, that means that we are moving to the right from the left. And if we are moving down, then that means that we are moving our object or things in downward, just in the downside. So that's what means, that's what it is, and that's what it is. And we can just, so this is x-axis and this is y-axis. Okay, so now what we are going to do is move this slider. Okay, move the slider, and there we can see our movement. Now if we rotate it without making, okay, let's go in the beginning of the time. So if we if we increase the rotation, it means that how much degree we want to rotate our rectangle. We can do this, we can increase it. There are two of the ways to rotate our rectangle. So one of the way is to go in the edge of our rectangle and just do like this, and one of the way is to just increase the number of degree that is shown on the property of rectangle 1. Okay, so even if we just do that, it indeed will change the rotation of the rectangle, but it will not change according to time. The rotation will not change according to time. So if we want to record our rotation, we have to put keyframe. Okay, so just click on the stopwatch, which is the keyframe, and then we move towards this time. Alright, so while this rectangle reaches this destination, we want to move it 2 times before it reaches the destination. So as you can see, this 2 is the number of time the rectangle rotated. The rectangle rotates. So we are going to go to the beginning of the time, and if we play it, there we go, it rotates 2 times before reaching the destination. There might be much more rotation because there is 271.5 degree. Alright, so if we want to move exactly 2 times, then what we can do is put 0. Alright, so because we have already moved 2 times, so whenever we go back in our beginning of our time, then we can play it. And there we go, we are moving 2 times. Alright? Alright. So let's practice it. Okay, let's practice keeping just making keyframes. Alright? So this is the position. Now also, as you can see, there is no keyframes over here. When I just put keyframe over here, like in position, I click OK, I just click it, and there we can see that there is a diamond kind of symbol. There's a diamond kind of thing over here, which is a keyframe. So this is the initial keyframe. So if we move over time, and if we change the position from here or here, either from here or here, alright, so that is our keyframe starts from here and moves all the way to here according to the value that is placed over here. So that is the concept of keyframe. You can move objects like that. Alright, it takes very much time to move from one to there. So I'm gonna make you also understand what is frame by frame animation. Okay, so in order to understand it, we have to zoom in. Alright, we have to zoom in and we have to drag it all over there. We are going to delete all of these keyframes because we no longer need it. So just zoom out, and then we can see 2 keyframes are over here. So we can select it by dragging, just clicking left click and dragging it, and just we can click on delete key on our keyboard. Alright, so there we have our rectangle, and I'm gonna zoom in. So the smallest part, the smallest measurement of time in this software is frames. So 1 frame, 2 frame, 3 frame, 4 frame. Okay, so if I go to rectangle and put keyframe like before in the position, okay, there you can see a keyframe on the frame 1 frame, and in the 2 frame, okay, this is 0 frame, this is 1 frame. So in the 1 frame we are going to put we can change a little bit position of our rectangle. So if we go to 1F and if we just play it, okay, it just directly goes to this direction. It reaches the destination so fast. So that is one frame animation. Okay, okay. That doesn't need any time. So if I go to 2 frame, and if I change the position again, as you know, we have put keyframe. So whatever the things that we do, whatever the changes that we made in the position of rectangle, it just records everything. So if I do this one, if I increase this by dragging this, just holding this left key and just dragging over this one, then just notice that how much fast the rectangle moves. Alright, so let's see it from the beginning what we have done so far. So we are going to press this one. Alright, it moves so fast we can't even see it when we don't focus on it too much. So I press space key and there we go. Alright, the rectangle moves. So just like this we can put keyframes. Alright, so this is frame by frame animation. 1 frame, 2 frame, 3 frame, okay, 0 frame, 1 frame, 2 frame, and so on and so forth. So if we want to copy what we did before, all the motion, all the position that we made change, we can copy it. So just press Control and C, and then we can put the slider from where we want to repeat our animation, and then we can do so this is 3 frame, and then we can press Control and V at the same time, and there we go. We can repeat our animation 2 times. Alright, we didn't even notice what happened because that's so fast, because we are just moving our rectangle in a very high speed, because that's frame. Okay, that's not even a second. In 1 second we may notice the movement of rectangle, but in frames that's just like microsecond. We cannot even notice how the rectangle is moving. But however, the more okay the more frame the animation takes, or the keyframe takes, the more smoother will be the transition of this rectangle. For an example, let me show you. So if I move this keyframe over here, I make it far away, and there, and another, I can just left click and drag it just like this, So if you just to play this animation again, then you can see a little bit, you know. So if I move this over this part, okay, now it should be easier to see the animation. Okay, so let's do it. Okay, we can see a little bit movement right now. We can just notice what happened. Okay, so just like that, we can also increase the scale. So if I click on the scale, and if I just go to this here, and if I just drag it, then it just scales like that. So in what frame are we? We are in 7 frames. All right. So from the 7th frame, we can scale our rectangle. So we can move, and just change the scale value, and we can increase it even more. And if I go further again, and if I change the value of scale from here, then I can change it by percent. So if I make it 100%, it just goes to the original size. If I want to make 200, then it becomes double of its original size, and so on and so forth. So let me make a keyframe on this cube. So this cube means that we are able to okay, let's do it. Okay, we can make our rectangle a parallelogram. So in order to see our parallelogram, we can just decrease the size of our scale, and we move here. Okay, so there we can go, there we go. The more we increase our skew of our rectangle, the more we are able to just make it a parallelogram, just twist it like that. Okay, so next up we are going to learn about text, how to animate text along with this shape. I know that it will be confusing, I know that this tutorial is also confusing, but once you play with this you will be able to understand everything. So thank you so much for watching. Keep your creative stuff at the top level, and I will see you in the episode 4.